near the, this is at Bailakuppe, near the Golden Temple, Buddhist temple at Kushal Nagar on the way to Coorg. He was born Brian A. Beffa in Virginia, and he obtained a degree in Bachelor of Arts. At this point, a question that ran through his mind was, what makes for the most happy and meaningful life? This made him take up philosophy for his master's, and this led to study of meditation with teachers among the exiled Tibetan communities in India and in Nepal. And this is going on from 1999 to 2000, to this day. He has tried to make basic Buddhist teachings more accessible to a variety of people all across India and the USA through his lectures, writings, and basic meditation instructions. His topic today is very interesting: interdependence and a kind heart. So without further ado, over to Venerable Tenzin Legtsok.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Raja and Rama, for your introduction. And welcome to everyone here in the Zoom room, those at Atashri and those at other places. Yeah, as Rama mentioned and Mr. Raja, I've had some very pleasant visits to Atashri before, when my my sister and brother-in-law and their family have come to visit Rama. Yeah, so I know you all are well fed there. Have very good food. Yeah, so I'm here in Karnataka, in the countryside of Karnataka near Coorg, at my monastery in Tibetan refugee settlement, right, where I've lived since 2004, studying Buddhist philosophy. So I was, before the session, Mr. Raja sent me an email introducing the Atashri community. And yeah, I was kind of reminded how many, well, what a kind of esteemed community it is in a way. How many of you have so much rich professional experience, business experience, different life experience. So thinking about that, I feel a little shy to give a talk to all of you who have so much more life experience than me in many ways. Also in that, I think most of you have had families, raised families. I've never been married or had children. So I'm lacking that kind of experience. So my kind of field of expertise is Buddhist philosophy. So that's kind of what I'll try to stick to, but of course I want to try to speak about something that is useful to you all. So I'll try to relate some of the main ideas from Buddhist philosophy, especially some of the messages that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, my main teacher, that he often usually expresses and speaks about and promotes in the world. So yeah, so my topic today is interdependence and how that relates to generating a kind heart and practicing kindness, affection, caring about others. So yeah, as Rama mentioned, I mean, when I went to college in the United States back from 1991 to 1995, I was already interested in the question of, you know, how to have a satisfying life, how to have a happy life, how to have a life that we feel is fulfilling, and when we look back on at the end of our days, we can be kind of proud of the way we lived our life. So that led me into the study of gradually sociology a little bit, but then mainly ended up studying Western philosophy. But I mean, honestly, I was quite disappointed with what I found in Western philosophy as far as answering the question of how to have a meaningful life. You know, in Western philosophy, when you look back at the ancient Greek philosophers, like the Stoics and early Stoics, and later Plato and Aristotle, you do find some very good, useful advice for how to live a good life. But then as you get into more and more recent philosophy, especially current Western philosophy, it becomes more and more, gradually more and more removed from those fundamental questions of how to, what does it mean to be a good person, how to have a meaningful life, how to cultivate kind of, wholesome relationships with, other people, your family and friends and so forth. Yeah, so after college, I sort of drifted away from philosophy and academics and study and stuff for a while and traveled around, worked in different kind of jobs, different sort of short-term jobs for a while. But then about 4 years, actually about 2 years after I graduated from college, I was diagnosed with cancer, which was a huge shock to me. That, being a young person, I was probably 25. Actually, it was earlier than that. I was probably 24 when I was diagnosed with cancer. And then I had to go through chemotherapy and radiation therapy for about 9 months before, luckily the form of cancer I had was quite treatable. Sorry, you can see the power just went off where I am. That's quite common here in the countryside, not like in Bangalore, I think, where you guys have pretty steady power supply. Yeah, so the form of cancer I had was quite treatable. So I recovered after 9 months. I recovered fully. But during that period, especially going through chemotherapy, I became extremely weak, very sick. Lost all my hair. Hardly had any energy. Spent a lot of time just sleeping, laying in bed, and physically was in a lot of pain. Okay, try to speak a little louder. And yeah, so and then also, of course, when you have cancer, you're afraid you're going to die soon. So then the question of, well, if I'm going to die within a year or two, then what is the most important thing that I want to do? With what little bit of life might remain, available to me. So kind of between that, thinking about my own, possibly, well, I mean, death is impending no matter when we're alive, but usually we think we have quite a long time before that happens. But suddenly, when you have cancer, all of a sudden it seems like, well, death might happen much sooner than I anticipated. So then in the midst of that process of thinking about, well, if I don't have much longer to live, what is most important to do? And also being extremely weak, then sort of these two, not ideas, but these two understandings became extremely clear to me about interdependence and the importance of having a kind heart. So that's kind of where the importance of this message kind of grew out of in my own life experience. So how so? Well, when I was extremely weak, well, I guess maybe I'll go back to this first. When I studied philosophy in college, at one point I was taking a seminar in Heidegger, and we had to write a short essay, just a one-page essay every week. So one week I happened to be, for a different course, studying, reading this famous book called Black Elk Speaks. It's by a kind of shaman, a mystic of the Lakota Sioux Indians, the Native American Indians, called Black Elk. So yeah, so this short book, Black Elk Speaks, it's kind of like the Tao Te Ching in a way of Native American Indians. It's full of very profound wisdom. But one thing he mentions there is that, there's a common saying among the Lakota Sioux people that, you begin your life as completely helpless and you end your life in old age. As a young infant child, you're completely helpless. You're entirely dependent upon the kindness of others, your parents, your mother, especially your mother, your caretakers to take care of you. So your life, at the beginning of life, your life is completely dependent upon others. And at the very end of your life, you're also, again, if you become sick, or if you have the fortune to live into old age and then become weak and very ill at the very last part of your life, again, you're completely dependent upon others. So during the middle of your life, when you have strength, and ability, you should use your life to care for others, to take care of others. So yeah, I learned, I mean, I read about that, wrote a short essay. I mean, I read that message in his book and wrote a short essay, somehow relating to Heidegger's philosophy. I forgot how. But then it kind of, you know, as when we study in college, many things, ideas we hear about and then we quickly forget about. So I kind of forgot about it. But then when I became sick with cancer and going through chemotherapy, here I found myself in the position of being, you know, in the prime of my life, you know, late 20s. Was, you know, before that was very healthy, you know, full of strength, could you kind of feel like you can do anything. But then all of a sudden I was struck down with this sickness and was physically, you know, completely weak, almost bedridden, you know, and really depending upon the kindness of others to, whether it be to treat my cancer, and depending upon oncologists and, you know, doctors and nurses and the whole medical system and the whole medical research that's led to the development of the medicine that's, you know, treating my cancer. And then also staying in my, after having lived outside, you know, apart from my parents for some time, then again living in my father's apartment, and depending upon my mother and father in a way like I had when I was a child, again. And then also one of the most helpful things I found when I was sick was just, you know, receiving the messages from, you know, my extended family and extended friends, just them telling me that, oh, we're thinking about you, we're praying for you, we care about you. And that was immensely helpful, just to know that even though, you know, I couldn't physically meet with many people, that there's many people out there in the world who care about me. That was extremely, yeah, helpful, I found. So, and then also another thing that kind of became very clear to me at that time was, you know, when we think about, well, I guess naturally I'm just inclined to think about things sort of philosophically, but when we think about, you know, our own impending death, then naturally the question arises, well, what is it that dies? Who is this person who's alive now, and what does it mean to die? Well, it means that this person who's alive now ceases to exist, right? Or at least ceases to exist in that physical form, you know, of the body of this life. So then we think about, well, what am I, basically? What am I, this person who eventually will die? And then, you know, if we look carefully at what we are, you know, we see that actually we're not, I mean, in many ways, we're not one whole thing, but we're made up of many, many different parts, right? You know, if we look at our body, you know, our body is made up of, you know, many different parts. You know, because when we die, obviously our body ceases to function. I mean, that's the main sign of death, is our heart stops to beat, therefore our blood doesn't flow, therefore our brain doesn't work. So, so then when we look at our body, well, what is it? What is this body? Where does it come from in the first place? First of all, we see our body is made up of, obviously it's made up of many different parts. We have 2 legs and 2 hands and a head and eyes and ears and, you know, all our different organs, which are all composed of different cells, which all work together, you know, in different ways to sustain all the, you know, our digestive system, our circulation system, our respiratory system, and all those different systems of our body, our neurons, the neural system. Anyway, all the different systems, I know I'm getting that term wrong, but all those different systems of our body, they work in perfect harmony to sustain our physical life, right? But then where does our body come from? You know, if we look carefully at our body, we see that, well, first of all, you know, at the time of conception, you know, the sperm and egg cell from our parents were the first cells to make up our body. And then all the other cells of our body have grown out of those cells, right? So in a very direct way, our body comes from our parents. And their bodies obviously come from their parents, and our grandparents' bodies come from our great-grandparents, and so forth. So this physical aspect of us is something that, you know, we didn't create in any direct way. It's something that's really given to us through the kindness of our parents. And then also, I mean, of course, then our body has developed and then been sustained by food, mostly which we haven't grown. It's come to us through the kindness of others, by all the food that we eat every day. And then I know oftentimes, you know, when we go to restaurants or we eat in a cafeteria, the food we eat has been prepared by others. Not to mention, you know, it's been transported to stores, and then the stores that are operated where we buy the food, you know, they're operated by others. So there's so many people who are involved, and not only humans, also bees and, you know, worms and other insects, and also, you know, scientists and so forth. Not that scientists are people, but there's many different people of different walks of life and different kinds of creatures, you know, animals as well, that contribute to us being able to enjoy food, which sustains our body. And then think about water. Whereas, you know, we need to drink water and different drinks every day. You know, did we create those? No, they all come from something else. Um, um, you know, just the Earth, the planet Earth, the water, all of the water on planet Earth. It's not something that's been created by any human being, and yet it's something that we totally depend upon. So when we think about just even our physical existence in that way, how everything that makes up just our physical body has come about through, in a way, you know, through the kindness of other sentient beings, other human beings, other animals, then it naturally instills a sense of gratitude towards those other people who are not our family, they're not our friends, they're just strangers to us, but it instills a sense of gratitude. And having a sense of gratitude naturally brings a sense of our own good fortune, which naturally brings happiness to us, right? And then even think about something like air or water, which wasn't created by other human beings, but like water, you know, that we were able to just, you know, turn a tap in our kitchen or our bathroom and water flows out. How is that possible? Well, it's not that we, you know, laid the pipes, or we, you know, we run the whole metropolitan kind of pumping stations and the whole water system, or created the aquifers, or even, you know, installed the taps and the sinks that we use in our apartments. Those are all things that are provided for, you know, constructed by, maintained, and operated by, you know, other people. So thinking about that, all can also bring gratitude, which brings a sense of happiness, which also gives us a sense of, and when we feel grateful towards others, well, hold on, and then also just the fact that there is water on the planet is just something that when we think of, we can feel, you know, incredibly fortunate. How fortunate that we, you know, live in a planet, in an environment where we have this beautiful, you know, incredibly beautiful thing, water, and clean water, and have such easy access to it. How fortunate, you know, I am. So when we think about in that way, then naturally makes us feel happy. And then, you know, when we feel happy, then it becomes easier to be kind to others. If we ourselves feel unhappy, you know, just feel sad, feel depressed, feel if we continually dwell on our own misfortune, because of course, as humans, we all have, sometimes we have good fortune, and sometimes we have misfortune. That's inevitable. That's an inevitable part of being a human being, of being a sentient being. Sometimes things go well, and sometimes things don't go well. But if we continually dwell on our own misfortune, you know, in any one moment, you know, if we just say we have a headache, and we continually just dwell on, how much our head hurts, that will, it'll make us feel more unhappy in the very moment. Our headache it'll appear to become worse. Um, and also when we feel unhappy, it weakens our immune system. So when we think of our own and dwell upon our own misfortune with a sense of, self-pity, then it makes us feel more unhappy, and we feel more alone from others, because we think how much I suffer and others don't, right? Others don't suffer like this. I'm more, unfortunate than anyone else in the world. So that kind of self-pity makes us, again, sadness, that kind of sadness makes us more and more physically more weak. And then we're more susceptible to sicknesses, and the kind of sicknesses we do have, they feel even more unbearable. Whereas even when we have hardship, even a small hardship like a headache, if we don't focus upon our own misfortune so much, but recognize that, there's many other people that suffer like this. This is an inevitable part of life, to have, headaches, to have physical sickness, to have physical pain, to have, difficult relationships with people in our family, with our neighbors. Everybody faces challenges like that. That's an inevitable part of life. And all those things are an opportunity for me to practice, patience, for me to develop forbearance, for me to remember the hardship that other people experience. So if we, when we face difficult circumstances, difficult, and painful experiences, if we think about in those ways, that we can even learn to see a difficult experience as an opportunity, to grow, as as a challenge for us to kind of use in order to develop more forbearance, in order to humble our pride. It's so easy when things are going very well for us to become, arrogant and forget about the misfortune of others, right? So when we ourselves have misfortune, like again, when this struck me very clearly when I had cancer, as a young, 25-year-old with a, decent college education, quite, come from quite affluent family, have a lot of opportunities. You feel like the world is open to you. Someone who's traveled. I traveled to other countries, to Indonesia and Canada, and had a lot of different life experiences at that point, and kind of felt like a little bit on top of the world. The world's open to me. But then again, all of a sudden being struck down with cancer, it was very, kind of very shockingly or viscerally reminded me that there's of the people that I see every day, around me, I don't know what they experience. I don't know what kind of hardships they have. Because, especially as a, young person, when I had, had cancer at that time, was going through chemotherapy, when I would go out in public places, people don't know that at all. How could they possibly know? So, I was experiencing something, a huge challenge, to me, very difficult thing at that time. But when I go out in the world, other people, in public, people who don't know me, they just look and see, it looks like kind of a fairly healthy young guy. They have no idea what I'm going through. And it reminded me that there's so many other people in the world who have, cancer or other, sicknesses, could possibly terminal illness, that I don't think about, up till that time, I rarely ever think about. So, so when we have even little problems, it humbles our pride, and it provides us an opportunity to generate compassion for others, to remember the hardships that others experience and generate compassion and concern, more concern for others. So then when we meet others, even strangers in the future, not to mention, when we talk to family members or talk to neighbors, our own experience of suffering and difficulty helps us have more empathy right? And have more understanding about the hardships and problems that others face. Mm. So yeah, back to then this kind of dependent arising. So my point with looking at all the all the different parts of our body and all the things that sustain where our bodies came from in the first place, from our own parents, our genealogy, basically, our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents, having given rise to our body, and then all the food and water and air that comes to us through the kindness, through the effort of so many countless other people. So looking at that kind of dependent arising, then it can give us a sense of gratitude and our own good fortune, and how all the things we enjoy just physically, they depend upon countless others, right? And so naturally comes a sense of responsibility to give something back, right? So much has been given to me freely, by my parents, by my natural environment, by my friends, my neighbors, my teachers, my extended, society, even my country. So many things that I enjoy just physically, not to mention mentally. We look at all the ideas that we have. We look at the language that we use. We think of all the education that we've, received, all the kind of entertainment, all the good jokes we've heard, all the, the good laughs we've had, all the bonding we've had with friends. So many, all those things, they've come to us basically freely, in a way. Even, the warmth of the warmth of the sunlight we experience on a, beautiful day like today, it's given to us freely. So there's so many things that make our life possible in the first place, and then within just being alive, make our lives enjoyable, right, and rich, and full of potential. So many of those things, they come about to us freely, right? So isn't it in a way that we have a debt to give something back, to the world, whether it's give something back to our parents? So that's why, universally it's held that as, parents of our children, children of our parents who raised us, when we were so back to this kind of Lakota Sioux saying, at the beginning of our life, we start out completely helpless. So at that time, we depend upon the kindness of our parents to, to feed us, to wash us, to nurse us, to clothe us, to care for us when we're sick, to protect us from, from danger, keep us safe, to teach us how to speak, to teach us how to interact with others, to teach us language, just to show us and to show us a role model of what it means to be a loving person, a kind person. Right? We completely depend upon our parents' affection and our parents' kindness, and therefore, it's part of our biology to like kindness, right? Means that even studies by psychologists, studies done on even children as young as 6 months old, 1 year old, if you show them like animated videos, or show them like a puppet play, where in one scene, if there's two characters in the play, and one is bullying the other, one is like hitting or pushing down, or putting down the other one, in some way harming the other one. The children, they show aversion. So this is even before they can speak. When they see one character in a play harming another, they show signs of in the facial expressions, in the way their eyes move, in the way their body moves. They show aversion to just seeing that kind of behavior. Whereas if you show another play, another scene where there's like two puppets or two characters and an animation, and one is helping the other, helping the other like climb up a hill, or helping the other do something, then the children, they're naturally happy, they're interested, and they show kind of approval and kind of delight in that. So that shows that it's our natural human, part of our natural human physiology, our natural human like makeup, our genealogy in a way, to be averse to harm, right? Not only when people are harming us, but even to be averse to behavior where one person is harming another. naturally that disturbs, it makes us feel disturbed, it makes us feel unhappy, right? Whereas when we see another person helping another person, of course, when people help us, we like it, right? But even when we see another person, one person helping another person, we naturally feel happy to see that, you know, and feel approval and feel attracted to those people, right? So, and that probably comes in large part because our lives are dependent upon others from our very infancy. Our lives are dependent upon the kindness of others, beginning with our mother, our father, and our other relatives. So, so the kindness of others, it nourishes our life. Therefore, we're predisposed to be kind, basically. Because, you know, if in order for us to preserve our species, you know, to speak in kind of Darwinian evolutionary terms, you know, in order for us to preserve our species, it depends upon us being taken care of when we're young, and then us taking care of our young when we have children, right? When we have children, they depend upon our caring about them, right? And, you know, because it's our children that will continue our, you know, our hereditary line into the future, our species into the future. So their well-being depends upon our being kind to them. But, you know, also as humans, we don't exist just in nuclear family units. You know, a nuclear family depends upon support of their extended family. You know, their aunts and uncles, their grandparents, their cousins, their, you know, matrilineal grandparents, patrilineal grandparents, their cousins, and then also not only that, but on our neighbors. You know, as human beings, we've evolutionarily developed as part of tribes. You know, before settled human civilization, you know, when we lived as hunter-gatherers, we exist as part of tribes where we depend upon relationships not only with our immediate family and our extended family, but with our neighbors and people who are part of the, you know, the extended similar society. And now, as modern human beings, we exist as part of societies where, you know, fortunately, we don't exist as hunter-gatherer tribes where we're always like fighting with each other and vying for, you know, areas of forest to hunt or, you know, areas of land to cultivate. Fortunately, you know, as modern human beings, we exist as these very vast, part of these very vast social networks that expand, you know, for example, throughout, you know, include all of Bangalore, include of all of Karnataka state, include of all of the states of India, and include all of the other countries of of the world, of of planet Earth. Right? So it's really fair to say that as modern humans, we exist as part of a kind of one human family that is interconnected, is spread throughout the entire Earth, the planet Earth, and we're interconnected very intimately now with you know, other people existing, you know, all over the Earth. I think that's something that's even more clear during this COVID-19 pandemic, you know, that because in a way, you know, we're isolated so much. I mean, we spend a lot of time isolated in our own rooms, in our own houses, in our own, you know, apartment, you know, complexes or communities, or they might be. But through the internet, you know, so we rely more upon connecting with others through the internet as we are now. And that shows how, you know, we can immediately connect with in a very live way with people in other continents, totally different parts of the world. So yeah, it just shows how interconnected we are. And so then just to highlight again, this relationship between interconnectedness and kindness, right? So our lives begin by depending upon others, right? And everything we enjoy in our life comes about through others. So our lives, in our body, our mind, all the experiences we have in our life, all depend upon, you know, this interconnected relationships with our immediate family, with our broader family, with other people in our society, with even strangers, and with our inanimate environment, you know, the earth, the water, the air. So because our lives and everything we depend upon lives comes about through the kindness of others, then naturally we need to give back to others. So what do others want? Well, they want the same things we want. I mean, other people want to be happy, right? So just as we like it when other people are kind to us and treat us with respect, treat us with concern. You know, they think before we have to tell them about, you know, problems we're facing, they're already thinking about problems we might have and offering to help, you know, without having to ask, ideally. And then when we do ask people, if people are willing to listen to us and willing to help, then, you know, we appreciate that. It makes us feel cared about, right? Which in a probably in a way that's more important than food and water, that sustains us, right? Sustains our well-being, our mental well-being. So just like we need the, you know, caring of others, concern from others, then other people need the same from us, right? So how do we, if we want to repay the kindness of the world, if we want to the kindness of all the things we've received, how do we repay that? One of the best ways is by just being kind to the people we meet, you know, day to day. You know, oftentimes it's easy to have the idea like, yeah, I should be kind to everyone. But then when we meet, you know, that neighbor that always kind of makes that coughing noise in the morning when they're, you know, cleaning their mouth that I can't stand, we find really difficult. You know, there's like, you know, there's one, on the one hand, there's this idea, yeah, it's good to be kind to others. But then, you know, oftentimes our own selfish concerns make it difficult to do that, you know, because yeah, if we have a lot of unrealistic expectations about, you know, well, other people, you know, I have, and oftentimes it becomes the case that the more status we have, you know, the more qualifications, professional qualifications, or the more of the wealth, the more kind of inflated idea we have about, you know, what we are, who we are in the world, then we have more expectations about how other people should treat us. The more expectations we have about how other people should treat us, then the more it is for us to ever feel satisfied, right? And the more likely it is that we're going in our interactions with others, we're going to feel like, oh, well, they didn't really talk to me in the way that, you know, I deserve, the way that I should be talked to. They didn't, you know, they didn't kind of give me the respect that I feel like I should have, because, you know, like in my case, maybe if I'm a Buddhist monk, so as a Buddhist, you know, as a Buddhist Muslim, where lay people treat, you know, ordained people with a certain deference and a certain kind of respect. But from my side, if as a Buddhist monk, whenever I'm among Buddhists or whenever among anyone, if I expect, oh, you know, people should address me as venerable, you know, people should give me the higher seat. People, when they're serving food, they should serve me first. If I have all these expectations, you know, wherever I go, I'm just setting myself up for disappointment, right? And setting myself up to be unhappy. And I'm creating a separation between myself and others. I'm thinking I'm a Buddhist monk and they're not, you know, or I'm an American and they're not. They don't understand. I'm something different, you know. So the more we identify ourselves in these ways that create like higher and lower, where we're higher, other people are lower, then it's like we're making ourselves prone to be not kind to others, right? If we identify in ways that we feel more separate from others, then again, it's like we're making ourselves prone to be not considerate of others, not respectful to others. So so basically, if the more we think of ourselves as existing in isolation from others, it's just like you look at the whole climate change problem, you know, global warming and the destruction of our natural environment, the pollution of our waterways, pollution of the air. Why has that come about? You know, why as a human species, why have we treated our natural environment like that way, right? Why have we treated our natural environment in that way that we find ourselves almost in this existential crisis? You know, if we don't change the way we relate to our natural environment, then, you know, we're going to destroy it. It's possible we could destroy it so dramatically that it doesn't even sustain human life anymore, you know, after several hundred years. Hopefully we have that long, right? So why is that? It's because it comes back to this, because of not seeing our interconnectedness with our environment, right? I mean, it's excusable that when we're just when we, 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, or even 500 years ago, when, there weren't so many human beings on the planet. We didn't have so much technological power. Um, we we didn't have like, factories and machines and automobiles and engines and so forth. We couldn't affect the environment that much. No matter what we did, it didn't affect, the oceans or the waterways or the air that much. But now we're so many human beings and we have such technological advancement, such technological power, that the things we do, they affect our environment in a radical way. So, and but it's like, you know, before, when we were technologically much less advanced, I think we probably did have much more of a direct sense of how our life depends upon having air and water and the earth and the sun, because we're in contact with those things every day. But now we live in, environments that are constructed by us, in buildings and apartments, and we've built up such infrastructure that we've become kind of divorced from the natural environment, in many ways. And we've developed this kind of, well, basically, because I'm running out of time, I will give time for questions soon. But basically, I think, we can say the climate destruction has come about due to a lack of understanding of our interdependence, of our dependence upon having clean soil, clean air, and clean water, through not being mindful enough of that and just polluting, the very air that sustains us, polluting the very waterways that sustain us, polluting the very earth that that gives rise to the food that sustains us. And I mean, of course, there's a danger that we can see with someone who's very angry or someone who's very selfish. They pollute, the very human relationships that sustain their lives. Think of, we all could probably imagine, or have met or know of people who are so kind of self-centered, that they have incredible expectations about the way everyone should treat them, that they never feel like anyone else in their family or anyone else in their, the workplace treats them well enough. And then they have a lot of resentment towards, all the people they know, a lot of anger. And they think, it's their right, everybody else is wrong. And then they ended up being extremely lonely, unhappy people, right? So, so just like it's, it's as well the case that through lack of appreciating what other people in our family and our society and the world give to us, that, not appreciating them and having unrealistic expectations that they should always do for me, I don't need to do for them, then it leads us into harming and destroying our personal relationships with others. So yeah, just to conclude now in the last minutes, and then it's time to open the floor for questions. So it's this, by this kind of understanding of how it is, of relationships and the natural environment in our human relationships with others, then we naturally see how we have a responsibility to care about our natural environment on the one hand, and to care about others, to care about, care for our children, care for other people in our family and our society, and even in the communities where we live, right? And also seeing how, we depend upon others' kindness to us, then it shows us how also others, for their happiness and well-being. So in a community like, in the monastery where I live, or like in like the retirement community where you all live in Atashri, you all depend upon each other's kindness to have a happy community. How do you build a happy community? It starts with one interaction at a time. It's just like, in the cells of our body, how do we have a happy body? It depends upon each cell in the body being healthy. How does that happen? Each cell contributes in some way that helps the other cells in the body to prosper, right? So how do we have a, one interaction at a time? So we have to be, each time we meet another person, whether it be in the hallway, in the cafeteria, outside, just smile, just say something, good morning. Instead of, each time we just show some interest, acknowledge the existence of another person, think about how does that make you feel? If you're walking down the hallway and one person, they just greet you and say, oh, good morning, how are you? And you just say, hello, good morning, and then carry on. You feel a little bit lifted up. It's something nice. Whereas you meet another person in the hallway and they just totally ignore you. They just look straight ahead or look down as if you don't exist. All of us, it feels a little bit down that way. So, one interaction at a time, caring about each other. Of course, sometimes we might really feel like we need to take space to ourselves and we don't feel like just talking to people a lot, and that's fine. We all need that kind of space sometimes, but it's through one interaction at a time that we just show that we care for each other. And then when there's a feeling, that the other people around me care about me and they feel that I care about them, then naturally, it builds happiness. And naturally, it enables us to deal with crises when they arise and address problems in a constructive way. Okay, so yeah, in short, then the more we reflect upon interdependence between ourselves and others, the more it provides a basis for having a kind heart. So I'll stop there. If you have any questions, then I can try to address.
Thank you very much. Thank you. In fact, we at Athasri not merely, understand, but experience almost every day this feeling of interdependence, day after day, because all our life runs on interdependence, and we are very conscious of it. But I'm sure that in the wider canvas that you have drawn, there may be areas where one might think not merely about a positive mindset where we accept with gratitude the good things that we get, but we may still be dwelling on some of the things some of the misfortunes, some of the things the negative aspects of life, which we might not be able to escape. Now, how do we develop a positive mindset? How do we sort of, I agree that we have to think in terms of gratitude, we have to think in terms of interdependence, realize it. And in your case, of course, from your own life, you have experienced it. And it has come out so forcefully to us from what you have said. But for us, what is it that we can do to put ourselves, particularly in our relationships with others, in a position where we can look at things positively, with a sense of gratitude, with a sense of compassion, kindness?
One thing I think is that, I think one big thing is to learn to just be, when you're talking about others, there's a slight difference between when we ourselves have hardship, how to deal with it, and when we're dealing with other people who we feel like are really giving us a hard time, with other people who are we feel like are making our lives difficult. With the second, when we're dealing with other people that we find difficult to relate to, difficult to interact, which happens to all of us, of course, right? It would be unrealistic to think we're going to get along with everyone. Everyone's going to like us. But when we're dealing with other people, we really have to learn to be forgiving, and recognize that other people, when they treat us in ways that we find harmful, it's usually not the case because that's what they intend to do. But it's because there are forces in their mind that are compelling them to act in ways that we find harmful. Like when someone else gets angry at us, for example, it's usually not the case that they conscientiously decided, yeah, I want to get angry at you, you know, I want to get angry at Legtsok, you know, but rather it might be, you know, if someone gets angry at me, probably it's because they felt hurt by something I did to them, or, you know, it's because they didn't like something I did, totally unbeknownst to me, or, you know, we have to think how, when other people act in ways that we find disappointing and harmful, the first place we have to try to understand, well, why are they acting in that way? And the first place to look to try to understand others is at ourselves, right? So I need to look at, well, when have I gotten angry at someone in the past? And when has someone else been really disappointed by my behavior in the past? And what caused me to do that, you know? And then that helps us have empathy and compassion for others, right? Because we see that we ourselves make mistakes. So then when this other person is doing something that we feel is really mistaken, we recognize, well, yeah, I've done that before too, and I kind of know how it is. And it makes it possible for us to forgive and then, you know, carry on, try to build up some more constructive relationship with the person.
Thank you. There are a couple of questions. You'd probably be able to see the questions, or shall shall I read them out? Yeah.
I'm looking in the chat. I can
Yeah,
see.
that's right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking at the comment. Okay, here's a question. I think from Bharat. There's a question.
From Bharat here. Yes.
Yeah. The problem is hate begets hate too. And hate, unfortunately, spreads at a rate that is unfortunately orders of magnitude higher than the rate of kindness spreads it. How to tackle this? Yeah, Bharat, I wonder, how are you measuring the rate of the spread of hate? What is your, where's your data set from?
Data set is just look around at the newspapers, just look around at people beating up on communities, people beating up on marriages. I mean, you just look around, man. And
yeah, no, I did see some kind of statistics from the internet, from people studying social media and posts, on social media posts, the kind of posts that spread quicker than others. It is ones that, well, ones that are lies, ones that are untrue because they report some kind of phenomenal, you know, thing that is so shocking. But yeah, but yeah, it's true. Hate begets hate, and hate kind of spreads more quickly. Yeah, I'm not sure that's, well, there's different ways to look at it. I mean, one thing I think really, what's really helped me to be aware of is the whole negativity bias. You know, the idea of negativity bias, that you know, oftentimes it seems to us like there's a lot more negative things happening in the world than there are positive things. But but that's actually not true, right? But we're biased, you know, to think that, because one is, where does our information come from? Well, I mean, from social media a lot, from newspapers, or, you know, podcasts these days. And like, for example, news media, they inordinately report more like negative things that have happened, because those are the things that are out of the ordinary, right? Something that's totally ordinary that happens every day is not newsworthy, right? If the newspaper were full of, you know, articles about how, you know, this family, they woke up this morning and the mother really, you know, was really kind to the children, they had a nice meal together, and then, you know, in this group of people, they, you know, they had a nice time in the park, we wouldn't read that because that's not interesting. So in the media, in the information we receive from media, we hear what do you say? Primarily about, I don't know, primarily, but a lot about negative things that happen, right? So it can make the world seem like a much more negative place than it actually is. And then another way is just the way our own attention works. You know, because of our evolutionarily, our nervous system, that's the one I was looking for earlier, the nervous system is hardwired to notice more threats, right? Threats to our life. And therefore, and we remember those things for a longer period of time. So it's said that, you know, in our personal relationships with other people if we have, you know, one negative interaction over just a few moments. That will cloud our perspective of that person and cause us to remember that one negative interaction much more than all the positive interactions we've had, you know, for, you know, a week or a month or years. I mean, we all know that, you know, a friendship or with another person that we built up over several years can be destroyed in one heated argument. You know, we'll never, you know, want to talk with that person again. So in personal interactions, it's said in, you know, the research in positive psychology that it takes like 4 or 5 positive interactions with a person to balance out one negative interaction. So that's another aspect of negativity bias. So, but I think the key is we just have to, you know, do what we can, you know, each day, each moment, just try to continue, and each thought, even when we're on our own, and each monitor our own thoughts. When you see a negative thought arise, you know, think about where is this going, you know? If I let this thought build upon and grow another negative thought, a destructive thought, that will lead to, you know, destructive speech, that will lead to destroying relationships. And then when we have one positive thought, appreciate that and help, and then try to cultivate positive thoughts, which leads to positive speech, which leads to positive relationships. I mean, that's really the only hope, I think.
I know. I think at an individual level, that obviously is the way. But you know, you yourself put the finger on it. That you know, for instance, social media is a great way to actually measure and see that this, you know, negatively phrased messages of hate, messages of suspicions, they spread faster than messages of kindness. You know, for every lovely, inspiring good morning message, there is like 20 messages of hate talking about some community or the other or whatever, you know. Yeah. So
right.
I mean, you and I and all of us at Athashri individually, you know, we can monitor ourselves and try to focus on the good. But at a societal level, you know, it's a very difficult problem, and we're at a time where unfortunately we have this tool, and this very same social media that magnifies everything in a way that, you know, was at a level that wasn't possible even 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And so that's, yeah. And I'm not sure what,
I mean, I was just gonna say, I think it's true with social media. It's like a new and incredibly powerful tool that's available to us as a human species. I think, yeah, we're still learning how to use it. No, it's something hopefully we can kind of gradually modify our use of, so it is more, because it can be an incredibly powerful tool for good. I mean, I know it, like in my Facebook page or my, you know, groups I'm on WhatsApp and so forth, I primarily get like a lot of positive messages, almost ridiculously positive messages. But I know, you know,
that's because Rama is sending you it every day, 20 of them.
What?
That's because Rama is sending you all those messages.
Yeah, see, they're in our chat box. You know,
she's the queen of positivity.
For example, of social media, it's all full of positive comments. You know, I don't see any hatred there yet. So,
but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Please.
But it's true. There are. I mean, sometimes I feel like, you know, like I'm American. You know, looking at the last election, I feel like there's a whole half of America that I'm not in touch with, like at all. No, like I'm a Biden supporter. I mean, no.
I mean, I'm in the same boat as you, and I have been swimming in that negativity for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Something else. Yeah.
I think the real challenge is communicating with people who don't appreciate positivity, right? And changing their minds. Persuading, you know, oftentimes we feel like we're preaching to the choir, right?
Right.
The real challenge, which I must say, I don't feel like I'm very successful at so far, is reaching out to and communicating with people who have different ideas than me. But I think one key is just remembering that, you know, as human beings, we're all the same, as all sentient beings. We're the same in that fundamentally we want happiness. We want well-being. Of course, we have many different ideas about what that means and how to get that. But if we can come back to that basic truth again, that we all want happiness, we want to be well, it gives us a bridge to relate to others. And then, you know, we can start to find more commonalities and ways we can build, you know, constructive relationships with people that we find difficult to do.
Well, I've taken the first step towards reaching out to people who think differently. I've started reading Fox News. That's step
Really?
one.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you finding some common ground there?
Well, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not there yet.
Very good. Yeah.
Anyone else would like to come in? Father Matthew? Father Matthew here?
That's fun. I think Rama's raising her hand.
Yeah. Hey, yes, Rama.
Rama, you're muted. Just a second. We have to ask for 1 second.
No, I just
Yeah,
wanted
now
to
she-
say.
Oh, sorry.
You're
what happened?
muted again. Sorry, you're unmuted and then muted again.
Okay. No, I was just saying when you talked about spreading positive, we could start from ourselves and start slowly spreading. And I don't send 20 positive messages, by the way. So anyway, but yes, I do try. And I hope at some point we'll all become successful. If we all try, I mean, we can be the change. We don't have to expect others to change first. We can do the
Absolutely.
change, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Isn't that the saying by Gandhiji? We need to be the change we want to see.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very brilliant.
And we've always talked about if you think you can change, I mean, you can do something, yes, do it, and you will do it. If you think you can, you can. That's our slogan when we were at teachers.
Oh, really? If you think you can, you can.
You can.
Yeah.
And how toxic words can harm the child. So, even if you want the child not to do something, how you can talk about it in a very positive way. These are, there was a beautiful article in Reader's Digest long ago, and about toxic words and how it can affect the brain and how it is important that you talk positive. And I think, yes, there was a Nigerian person who recently talked to a police person who talked about the wrong signals that parents send out to their children when they break rules in front of them. So that sort of a thing, if we can start changing, we can, hopefully, and we will, hopefully.
Yeah, I find one thing helpful is, because I know when I was younger, sometimes when I would really dislike another person, I found, it was a really, really difficult time, getting along with them. I would kind of think, well, I look forward to the day when I don't have to see them anymore, that person, right? So, but, that's also quite an unhealthy attitude, I think, so I think as Buddhism, of course, is part of the ancient Indian, traditions of philosophy and religion, of which a universal view is held, the view that we have past and future lives, right? And that we're all part of the same universe. So I find now, thinking about people that I really have a difficult time, connecting to or relating to, but it helps me to think that, well, I'm part of the same universe as those people, and that's never going to change. I'm always going to be together with these other people, right? So I can't go on kind of just trying to escape them. Eventually we meet everyone, and we are connected with everyone, for better or worse. So so there is no kind of escaping anyone. So and that's not just this life, it's next life and next life and next life. So really it comes back to, I have to do the best I can to be the kind of person that I think is, the right way to be, in order to be a good role model to others, just like as parents are for their children, in order to be a good role model in society. And I have to give up expecting that other people are going to share my ideals, and that, that they're going to reciprocate.
Yes.
But rather I should treat other people with kindness and love, just because I think that's the right way to treat people, without expecting anything from them. And actually, when there's some people who they don't reciprocate, they don't treat me in the way that I feel like I should treat other people, that's a better opportunity to practice kindness. Because when there's people who are kind to us and nice to us, it's easy to be nice to them. And it's really easy for us to be actually self-centered. for us actually to be kind to other people because we want something in return. So it's when other people don't reciprocate, then we see whether our being kind to others is really tinged with selfishness or not. You know, when we can really treat others with respect and kindness and gratitude, regardless of the way they treat us, then it really shows us a kind of selfless kindness, which is much more noble and much more powerful than one that is tinged with kind of the selfishness of this expectation of something in return, right? So, I mean, that's another way I think the parents' kindness for their children is, I mean, the best. I mean, especially is really selfless. You know, they don't expect anything in return from their children. They just love their children because they're their children. That's the only reason. So similarly, we can care about others just because they want happiness, just like we do. And they don't want to suffer, just like we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's other comments too, please be feel free to share. It doesn't have to be.
There's a couple of comments.
Mm-hmm.
You're reading it out?
Yeah, he's reading. Venerable Legtsok, you're reading it out yourself? You're going
Sure.
through them.
Yeah, I was just looking at them. Yeah, I was just looking at the last one. Let's see. Oh, I think this Samapati Patel.
Samapti Patel.
Yeah, was saying practice before you preach. Yeah, that's definitely true. We have to try to be a good role model by practicing what we think. You know, I'm following same and explain to my near and dear ones to be positive. Yeah, this is 9 months have not taken the name of this COVID. More have discussed about it. I'm not sure what she means by that. In fact, I've adopted and changed my routine. I don't know. Is she, I'm not sure it's a man or woman. Is she here in the room? Can maybe elaborate or clarify.
Samapti, are you here?
Oh yeah, she's, they're there, I'm not sure. Is that a resident in Artistry?
No.
No, she's from Bombay. She's my colleague in the Rotary Club in Bombay. One of the past presidents. Samapti, are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to elaborate?
Sorry, she needs to be unmuted. Let me, one second.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you see her, just have to unmute her. Samapti, just, you should have a thing that asks you to unmute. Very good. If you can turn your camera on, that would be great. You're unmuted.
Yeah.
You're muted again.
She's got muted again. Oh.
Yeah.
And now she's cool. If you can turn your camera on, that'd be fantastic.
Sorry, good evening. Nice to know your experience, and really it is really good. So I'm also following someone, and so I have adopted not to talk about this pandemic or whatever it is. I am busy with my own schedule. And at the same time, explaining people also to be positive, and this is a good time God has given to us. Make best of it.
Yeah, true.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to explain that, but in hurry, I wrote whatever comes to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Expert like
Great.
you, so just learning from you people. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, KCR sir.
Thank you, Samapti. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, in preparing for this talk, I was thinking about my own experience with cancer, which really changed the direction of my life in quite a big way. I mean, that's kind of why I sort of am a monk now. The kind of direction of my life changed from then. But I was thinking, you know, and so I'm very grateful. I mean, of course, I never wanted to have cancer, but I'm quite grateful for that experience now, looking back on it. So I was thinking, you know, this COVID-19 pandemic, I hope we can look back on this in 100 years and see that, you know, the direction of human civilization really changed at that kind of inflection point when there's this climate crisis and then also this pandemic. And, you know, in politics, there's this, you know, extreme polarization and the danger of kind of fascist and rise of nationalism again. hopefully, like, we're kind of experiencing the worst of it now, or in the next, I don't know, 10 or 20, 30 years. And, you know, we'll really change. Because I think many people really see that, you know, if we don't, especially with the climate change, if we don't really change radically, it's going to lead to massive destruction and, you know, hardship for human beings. So hopefully we can change in time. I mean, that's the big question. But yeah, but it's important, I think, also when we talk about positivity, we can easily slip into being naive and just leaving things at just having a lot of nice words and nice ideas. That's not enough. No, we really need to put things into action, right? So, but again, I think it begins with our own mind, one thought by one thought. You know, we try to have positive intentions and then think, how can I actually put these into practice? You know, with my own personal relationships and my family and my immediate community, you know, through my work, through the way I consume, you know, what things I buy, what things I don't, where I invest my money, and so forth and so on, right? So,
Thank you. Anyone else? Father Matthew here?
I don't believe so.
I don't think he's come.
I don't
He
think
probably
so.
has not been able to come, you know. Right. Bharat, anything more? Anyone
Sorry,
else? Any
I
questions or
don't.
any comments
I
from
don't.
anyone? Okay, then, yeah, it's time up for us also. So, Reverend Legtsok, thank you very much for coming and spending this hour and 15 minutes with us. You have left with us some very beautiful thoughts, which all of us share. And through your own story, which you referred to several times, I mean, started with your story, you have been able to project your philosophy of interdependence and of a kind, loving heart. And you also talked about the sense of gratitude that we should develop for what we get, and that difficulties are only a challenge, an opportunity to generate compassion, and that our natural human physiology is averse to doing harm to others, and we are predisposed to be kind. Uh, that's a sort of natural state in which we probably are born and brought up in the early years of our life. I was particularly interested in your saying that we don't seem to be aware of the interdependence that we have. For instance, the dependent on natural resources, as a result of which all this pollution, climate change, and all are taking place. And the second thing that you particularly mentioned is that our nervous system is wired to notice threats, negative things more than positive things. And combined with the social media, which believes in sensationalizing the things which we would take notice of, which means the negative ones, it's a challenge for us to develop a positive mindset. And the real challenge in developing positivity lies in communicating effectively towards those who do not appreciate positivity. Uh, this is the message that we value a great deal. And running through the entire lecture of yours and the discussion that we've had was the language of compassion, the language of love, which should touch the chords of any heart. And I'm sure that if we have preserved the recording of this lecture, I'm sure when we take it to others, to a wider audience, it'll touch and illumine the hearts of many others, many others. Thank you very much for joining us, being with us. We hope to see you again, both in Athasri when things become more normal and on occasions like this. Thank you very much indeed. May God bless us all.
okay, thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed very much being here.
Thank you, Legtsok.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Let's catch up
Take
sometime
care.
later.
I do plan to come next time.
Yes.
Rama's children come, grandchildren come.
Yeah, but when you visit Bangalore, you can always visit us. You can stay
That's
with
right.
us.
That's
Yes,
right.
you can
We'll request Father Matthew to bring you. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no,
Sure,
I'll bring
sure.
him. I'll bring
Oh,
him.
Rama will do it.
He likes staying
Rama
at
will do it.
Atashri,
Yeah, yeah.
isn't it?
Oh,
So yes,
wonderful,
sure.
wonderful.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Right.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Take care.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Stay safe.
Bye. So
Bye.
shall I end the meeting, Bharat?
Yes.
Yeah. I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.